Hello, everybody. This is the Paint the Town Red podcast. My name is Chance, and today we have some news for you, per usual. First, the relentless war in Ukraine. Russia has advanced into I'm going to try to pronounce this, the Prokrotsky region. Yeah, that was my best try. The heartland, once spared from the conflict through Ukrainian reports, suggests that the offensive has since, even though Russia has made, gains, Russia has stalled. That's coming from Ukraine, though. Strategic assessments reveal that from July 29th to August 26th, Russian troops seized 180 square miles of Ukrainian territory, nearly doubling last week's gains despite an overall slowing trend. An overall slowing trend. That doesn't seem to be slowing. They're so ChatGPT. If you look up things on ChatGPT to kind of give you an assessment or a script, it's so funny how they manipulate stories just so slightly, and just like the news stories obviously do too. But noticing ChatGPTs is really interesting. On this Russian war, it's really interesting. They're just like, Russia has taken over half of Ukraine, but since last month, they're actually slowing down. It's like, I guess you take the good with the bad, but well. So now Russia has tons of momentum. They're taking over parts of Ukraine that were once never thought to be taken, and the Ukraine and its Western allies scramble to hold the line. Apparently, people in Ukraine do not want to fight anymore. They are done. They are done fighting. They're having to force people to go on the front lines, and there is massive amount of polling suggesting that all the Ukrainians want to make a deal, and Zelensky is not having it. He doesn't want to make a deal. It's either he gets all of Ukraine back or he wants to keep continuing to kill his own people. Why would he want to do that? Why would he want his own people to die? It's almost like he's getting paid or something, right? Next, the showdown brewing between Chicago officials and the federal government. President Trump is threatening to send the National Guard to restore order in Chicago, even citing it is a mess, a part of a broader crime and immigration crackdown across Democrat-led cities. The Wall Street Journal has given their opinion. They say, but here's the twist. Chicago's crime isn't rising. Homicides are down more than 30%. Shootings down almost 40% in the past year. Mayor Brandon Johnson called Trump's plan uncoordinated, uncalled for, and unsound, warning that deploying troops without local consent threatens trust and community safety. Governor Pritzker echoed those sentiments with a definite message. Do not come to Chicago, and warned Trump that an unauthorized deployment will be met with resistance. Wow, really? Met with resistance. Okay. The Democrats are saying that all the numbers of crime are exaggerated and yada, yada, yada. And then, if you look on ChatGPT, it cites Wall Street Journal cites that their shootings are down by 30 to 40%. We'd also like to mention is that they're down from 30-40% since Trump came into office and stopped illegal immigration. Illegal immigration is down by 60%. Homelessness is down by 60%. A bunch of things are down by 60% because we stopped the illegal immigration at mass amounts to Chicago, which is one of the cities that has taken in more asylum seekers than anyone else. Now, even though those numbers have dropped recently, the pathway for these asylum seekers to come in and the Democrats to make money on them still is there. And you could see some of these numbers with the residents, the homeless, the people who've been there long term, their homelessness is gone up by 38%. So crime at an all-time low in 2005 was at 15 homicides per 1,000 or something like that. Now it's at 21, and there was an all-time high in the 90s, which was 27. So it's not by no means historically lower than usual, but it has gone down recently because, like I said, the stopping of the illegal immigrants pouring into the country. Isn't that funny? Wow, isn't that interesting? The nonprofits that then take in the asylum seekers that are established and founded in sometimes by the politicians themselves who fight for getting the asylum seekers to come in are directly profiting from these nonprofits, who the managers and workers of all the nonprofits, who they get placed by the government, then in turn goes and donates to their campaign. So it's literally a circle of corruption. It's so clear to see. I've tried to show this to many people who are part of the Republican Party, even the local Republican Party, and guess what they do? Nothing. They don't even talk about it. There's nothing. It's just, oh, you're being crazy or something like that. It's like, man, it's a full circle of complete corruption. They don't want to get to the head of it. They don't want to talk about it because, well, the private equity firm that's giving them all their funding is Jewish owned. And we don't want to do that because that could go down a crazy rabbit hole, right? But even aside from that, the corruption is there, and you can clearly see it through these nonprofits and through these asylum seekers. That is their cash cow. And these Democrats, that's why they're fighting against having the National Guard. I mean, imagine it. The city has crime and homelessness. Trump wants to send the National Guard, the American government, to come in and clean up the city. Why would the Democrats not want that? Why would they want more crime? Why would they not want more help for free? Why would they not want that? Is it just because they hate Trump? No, because Trump knows that the heart of the Democrat Party is through these nonprofits, is through these fundings, through the funding of the nonprofits and their connection to the big boys, which are the private equity firms. He knows that, and he's attacking them directly, and no one wants to talk about it. Not very many people want to talk about that aspect of it. They'll talk about illegal immigrants and how they're bad, and we should get them to sign a piece of paper. We should get them to do their paperwork. But they don't want to talk about how, like, no, they're doing this on purpose. People in Biden's campaign literally bought land across the southern border to make sure they even got there safely. I mean, the whole thing, you can go down the rabbit hole. It's a scam through and throughout. And that's why Democrats always outraise Republicans all the time. And we're talking about, can you believe the Democrats have purple hair? Here's what they're doing. This is why they're kicking your butts. But let's not talk about it because, we don't want to be too so that's it for that story. Let's see here. What's next? Oh, we got the Minneapolis shooter, 23-year-old Robin Westman. Obviously, he shot up the Catholic Church. I'm sure you guys have already heard about it, injuring 17 children. Here's what's interesting to me. So I looked it up on ChatGPT. I said, hey, tell me what the manifesto is translated. I tried to translate it as much as I could. It's a long. I have all the pictures. If anybody wants them, I'll send them to you. But they're Russian letters, but written in an English way. So like if you were to spell the word, cat, A-T, he took a Russian letter that's usually that's C, and he put for C and then cat. And so it's hard to translate. You can't translate it by no means of AI or scanning, which I tried. So it makes it a little harder to kind of decipher. But if any of you want to go down it and start looking at the stuff, I know there was stuff about demons and stuff like that we can clearly see. Now here's what's interesting. So I chat GBT'd what does some of the stuff he said, and it says, in videos and a written manifesto uploaded online, they detailed violent fantasies, praised infamous mass shooters like Adam Lanza, and scrawled hateful messages such as kill Donald Trump, anti-Semitic slurs, and references to Hitler on firearms, and notebooks written partly in Cyrillic, so that's just the Financial Times saying that. Okay, so what they're saying, what essentially is what they're saying is that, he's anti-Semitic and he hates Trump. And it even says white supremacy slurs. Now, I've looked at all the stuff, okay? I've tried to go down and try to decipher some of it. I couldn't get through all of it. It's super long. It's going to take me a long time. I'd never seen, not one time, anything about Hitler, anything about white supremacy. He's not even white, and nothing. They don't even mention that he's trans. They don't even mention that on ChatGPT when you look it up. But they mention white supremacy and anti-Semitic. What did he say was anti-Semitic? The only thing I can relatively see that was anti-Semitic of what they would I wouldn't even classify as anti-Semitic, is he says on one of his weapons, it says, release the files. But yet to them, he's anti-Semitic and a white supremacist? No, he's trans. He's a Satan worshiper. It's clear, easy to see. It's clear. He's not a white supremacist. He hates white people. All the people he killed were white. This just doesn't make it. It's just stupid. I mean, people believe ChatGPT and these news sources too that just immediately go to that. Why? Maybe because there's an overrepresentation of a certain group of people. There we have people like Randy Fine who are going on Twitter and saying, this mass shooting of this Catholic church reminds me of something. October 6th, when Jewish people, what connection do those two have? What connection do those two have? Come on. That's just stupid. No, it's because they have a mindset of just poor me constantly, and they're overrepresented in every aspect of our society. And unless we admit that and say that without fear of being called a Nazi or a racist, then we're never going to get anywhere. We're completely taken over, and nothing's going to change unless you wake up. Anyway, that is it for today. We hope you guys have a wonderful week. It is Thursday. This is the Painted Town Red podcast. We're out.